Imagine the most powerful man on the planet, jolted awake at 3 a.m. by a nightmare he cannot remember. His heart pounds like a drum, sweat streams down his face, and in his head echo fragments of a dream that has vanished like mist, yet has left a deep anxiety in his soul. This man is Nebuchadnezzar II, the ruler of the greatest empire of the ancient world. Under his authority live millions. In his treasuries pile up the gold and silver of dozens of subjugated peoples. But on this night, he is powerless before something no army can conquer, a secret dream from God. What do you do when you have everything in the world, yet something within you knows you lack the most important thing? The knowledge of the future. Today we will enter the throne room of Babylon, where we will witness one of the most precise prophetic revelations in history. We will see how the young Jewish captive Daniel unveils not only the king's forgotten dream, but also the divine plan for the next 2,500 years of human history. 605 BC, Babylon is at the zenith of its splendor. The Hanging Gardens, one of the 7 wonders of the world, adorn the royal palace. The Etemenanke ziggurat rises toward the heavens like an ancient skyscraper. Walls clad in lapis lazuli gleam in the sun as a metaphor of the divine presence. But at the center of all this pomp lives a man consumed by the insatiable human need to know what awaits him. Nebuchadnezzar II is no ordinary conqueror. He is a strategist, a builder, a visionary. He has raised an empire stretching from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean Sea. Yet there is something no army can conquer: the future. His name in Akkadian, Nabu-Kudur-Usur, means Nebo, guard the crown. Nebo is the Babylonian god of wisdom and the written word. The irony is that this ruler, whose very name invokes the God of wisdom, will soon discover that true wisdom comes from the God of Israel. In the 2nd year of his reign, Nebuchadnezzar dreams a dream. But this is no ordinary dream. The Hebrew text uses the word halvam, chalom, meaning a prophetic dream, a vision of divine significance. When he awakens, the king senses he has seen something of decisive importance, but the details have evaporated. Only the deep conviction remains that this dream contains secrets that must be deciphered. Do you know that feeling? When you know you have experienced something important but you cannot recall it? Ancient rulers believed that dreams were messages from the gods. For Nebuchadnezzar, the loss of the dream's memory is not a mere annoyance. It is a potential national crisis. If the gods have spoken to him and he cannot grasp the message, what does that mean for the future of the empire? The king summons all the Hartumium, the enchanters, the Ashapium, the astrologers, the Imkashpium, the magicians, and the Kashdium, the Chaldeans. These are the most learned men in the empire, custodians of the ancient wisdom of Mesopotamia. Tell me the dream and its interpretation, the king commands. The wise men answer with the classic phrase of their craft, "O king, live forever. Tell your servants the dream, and we will give the interpretation." But Nebuchadnezzar does something unprecedented. He says, "If you do not tell me the dream and its interpretation, you shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill." Why such a drastic threat? Why can't the king simply relate his dream? The answer reveals Nebuchadnezzar's genius. He suspects his wise men are charlatans. Anyone can fabricate an interpretation of a reported dream, but if someone truly has a connection to the supernatural, he should be able to reveal the dream itself. The Chaldeans reply in desperation, "There is no man on earth who can declare what the king demands. There is none other that can show it before the king but the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh." This statement is revolutionary. For the first time in Babylon's history, the official sages acknowledge the limits of human knowledge. They admit that there is a realm of knowledge accessible only to the gods. But there is an irony in their claim. They say that the gods do not dwell with flesh. That is, there is no connection between the divine and the human. Soon they will learn how wrong they are. Nebuchadnezzar's wrath is terrifying. He commands that all the wise men throughout the kingdom be killed. The death sentence includes the young Jewish captives, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. When Arioch, the chief of the king's guard, comes to carry out the order, Daniel does something remarkable. Instead of begging for mercy or fleeing, he asks, "Why is this royal decree so swift?" The Hebrew word chatsifa, quick, sharp, can also be translated cruel, reckless. Daniel is unafraid to criticize the king's decision as ill-considered. "Give me time, and I will tell the king the interpretation," Daniel says to Arioch. Imagine the audacity of this request. A 20-year-old Jewish youth, a captive in a foreign land, promises to do what all Babylonian wisdom has failed to achieve. But Daniel does not rely on his own wisdom. He goes to his friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and they pray. They do not merely pray, they seek mercies from the God of heaven concerning this mystery. The Hebrew word rachamim means mercies, compassion, but its root rechem means womb. It is the word for the deepest, most intimate love, the love of a mother for the child in her womb. This prayer is not merely a request for information, it is an appeal to the fatherless heart of God. Then the mystery was revealed to Daniel in a vision by night, Bechezvadilelia, in a night vision. In the biblical context, night visions are especially sacred, a time when God speaks most directly to human beings. Abraham receives his covenant in a night vision. Jacob wrestles with the angel at night. Joseph interprets Pharaoh's dreams. The first thing Daniel does upon receiving the revelation is not to rush to the king. Instead, he glorifies God with one of the most beautiful hymns in the Old Testament. "Blessed be the name of God from age to age, for wisdom and power are his. He changes times and seasons. He removes kings and sets up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and understanding to the discerning." When Daniel enters Nebuchadnezzar's presence, he does something unexpected. Instead of boasting of his skills, he bears witness. The mystery that the king demands no wise men, enchanters, magicians, or diviners can show to the king. But there is a God in heaven who reveals secrets, and he has made known to King Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Note Daniel's strategy. He does not deny the abilities of Babylon's sages in their own domain, but he emphasizes that there is a sphere of knowledge that belongs to God alone. "But as for me, not because there is in me more wisdom than in all the living, but in order that the interpretation may be made known to the king." This phrase reveals the heart of a true prophet. Daniel does not seek personal glory. He is merely a mediator of divine revelation. "You, O king, were looking, and behold, a great statue. That statue, great and of surpassing splendor, stood before you, and its appearance was terrifying." Imagine the scene. Nebuchadnezzar listens, his eyes widening in astonishment. With every word, Daniel restores the vanished memories of the dream. "Yes, that is exactly what I saw. Exactly so." Daniel continues with details that could only come from divine revelation. The head of that statue was of pure gold, its chest and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze, its shanks of iron, its feet partly of iron and partly of clay. Here we must understand the deep symbolism of the chosen metals. In the ancient world, metals are not mere materials. They are symbols of value, strength, permanence. Gold is the symbol of the divine, of purity, of the highest worth. In ancient cultures, only kings and gods are associated with gold. Silver is a noble metal, yet less precious than gold. It is associated with the moon, with the feminine principle, with commerce. Bronze is the first metal humanity learned to work, a symbol of civilization, of war, of practicality. Iron is the hardest of the ancient metals, a symbol of strength, of harshness, of military might. Clay is the most basic material, a symbol of human nature, of fragility, of mortality. Do you notice the pattern? The value decreases from top to bottom, but the hardness increases. What might that mean for the history of humanity? You were watching until a stone was cut out without hands, which struck the statue on its feet of iron and clay, and crushed them. Here is the key to the entire prophecy. The stone comes without hands, Belayadayin, without human agency. This is not a human deed, but a divine action. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold were crushed together and became like chaff from the summer threshing floors. and the wind carried them away so that no place was found for them. But the stone that struck the statue became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. The image is striking. The entire statue, all the great empires of history, turns to chaff that the wind carries away. But the small stone becomes a mountain that fills the whole earth. Now comes the moment of truth. Daniel must explain the meaning of the vision. You, O king, are King of kings, for the God of heaven has given you a kingdom, power, might, and glory. You are that head of gold. Nebuchadnezzar is the head of gold. His empire is the pinnacle of human grandeur in terms of splendor and glory. But after you shall arise another kingdom, inferior to yours, and another, a third kingdom of bronze, which shall rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron. The second empire comes exactly as Daniel prophesied. In 539 BC, Cyrus the Persian takes Babylon without a battle. The Persian Empire is larger territorially than the Babylonian, but less centralized. It rules through satrapies, a decentralized system that is practical but less majestic than Babylon's. Silver is a fitting symbol for Persia. The Persians are known for their silver coins, darics, which become the first international currency in history. But Persian culture never reaches the artistic heights of Babylon. The Third Empire appears in the person of Alexander of Macedon. In 331 BC, he routs the Persian army at Gaugamela and conquers the entire Persian Empire in 3 years. Bronze is the perfect symbol for Greece. The Greeks are masters of bronze, copper plus tin weapons and armor. The Greek phalanx, with its bronze spears and shields, is an unbeatable war machine. But Alexander dies at 33, and his empire is divided among his 4 generals. The Fourth Empire is Rome, the empire of iron. The Roman legions, with their iron swords, gladius, conquer the Mediterranean world with methodical cruelty. And just as iron breaks and crushes everything, so it will crush and shatter all these. This is a perfect description of the Roman war machine. The Romans are not like the Greeks, artists and philosophers. They are engineers and conquerors. Their roads, aqueducts, and amphitheaters are built for millennia. And since you saw the feet and toes partly of clay and partly of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. Here the prophecy becomes especially intriguing. The final phase of the Fourth Empire is characterized by a mingling of iron and clay, strength and weakness in one. Many biblical scholars see in this a description of modern Europe, the heir of the Roman Empire, yet divided into nation-states that attempt to unite but cannot fully stick together. As iron cannot be mixed with clay, so they will not cling to one another. And in the days of those kings, the God of heaven will raise up a kingdom that shall never be destroyed. It will crush and put an end to all these kingdoms, and it alone shall stand forever. Here is the true climax of the prophecy. All human empires are temporary, but a kingdom is coming that is different in nature, not human, but divine. For Christians, this is the kingdom of Jesus Christ. Jesus is born during the Fourth Empire, Rome. His kingdom begins as a small stone, 12 disciples in a small province of the empire, but it gradually spreads until it fills the whole earth. After Daniel finishes the interpretation, something unexpected happens. The most powerful man on earth falls prostrate before the young Jewish captive. Then King Nebuchadnezzar fell on his face and paid homage to Daniel, and commanded that an offering and incense be brought to him. This is not merely a political gesture. Nebuchadnezzar says, "Truly your God is God of gods and Lord of kings, and he reveals secrets, since you were able to reveal this secret." For the first time in his history, this pagan ruler acknowledges the supremacy of the God of Israel, not merely as one God among others, but as the God of gods. Nebuchadnezzar does not stop at the confession. He appoints Daniel governor over the whole province of Babylon, and chief over all the wise men. The youth who hours earlier was under a death sentence is now second in authority in the greatest empire in the world. But Daniel does not forget his friends. At his request, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego also receive high positions in the administration. 26 centuries have passed since Nebuchadnezzar's vision, How has Daniel's prophecy fared under the test of time? The Babylonian Empire, the gold, fell exactly as foretold, to Persia. The Persian Empire, the silver, fell to Greece. The Greek Empire, the bronze, fell to Rome. The Roman Empire, the iron, fragmented into the European nations, iron mixed with clay. And the stone? Christianity began as a small movement in Palestine. But today, it has followers on every continent. It is the one force in history that has outlasted all empires and continues to grow. Is it a coincidence that a youth from antiquity described with such accuracy the course of history for the next 26 centuries? But the prophecy of Daniel 2 is not merely a history lesson. It carries a profoundly personal message for each of us. We all build statues in our lives, careers, relationships, achievements, dreams. Some are of gold, our most precious ambitions, others of silver, bronze, or iron. But all of them are temporary. The question is, what place does the stone cut without hands have in our lives? Do we give room for God's kingdom to grow in our hearts? As we conclude this remarkable story, I want you to reflect on something striking. Nebuchadnezzar thought he was making history. But Daniel 2 reveals the truth. God makes history, and kings are merely his instruments. He changes times and seasons. He removes kings and sets up kings, sings Daniel in his hymn. Empires rise and fall according to the divine plan. In a world where everything seems temporary and uncertain, the prophecy of Daniel 2 gives us a ray of hope. It tells us there is a kingdom that shall never be destroyed. In which kingdom do you live? In the kingdom of gold, silver, bronze, and iron, where everything is temporary, or in the kingdom of the stone, where there is eternal security? Before we part, I want to leave you with a question that may change your outlook on life. If God could reveal to Daniel the entire history of the world for the next 26 centuries, if every one of his prophecies has been fulfilled with mathematical precision, if the stone truly has become a mountain that fills the earth, what then does that mean for your personal future? Can you entrust your own life to this God? In the next episode, we will continue the journey with Daniel and examine another astonishing prophecy, the vision of the 70 weeks, which predicts to the very days the coming of the Messiah. But for now, in the silence of your heart, consider this. The stone cut without hands is still rolling through history. The question is, will you allow him to become a mountain in your own life? Don't forget to subscribe for the upcoming episodes of our journey through the prophetic revelations.